Hello, my name is Robert Beach, and this session is on guidelines for describing graphics. In 2001, Mr. Adam Alonso gave a presentation entitled, "A Picture is Worth 300 Words." The session covered 6 guidelines that were developed for describing works of art. They were created for an online art gallery. This presentation, I have tried to summarize and generalize these guidelines to make them more usable for things other than art galleries. So let's get started. Guideline number 1, be objective. Answer the question, what information is the image providing? If the image is simply decorative, mark it as decorative and don't describe it. That way, screen readers will not read through a whole description. Only describe what you see, not what you think the image is portraying. Don't want to interpret. Do not interpret feelings or opinions or moods of an image. Just simply describe what you see in the image that gives you that impression. Guideline number 2, be brief. Fewer words is usually better. Direct descriptions that with less words are generally easier to understand. Only describe what is necessary to impart the information of the image. Just because there's parts in an image, they don't necessarily have to be described if they don't provide information. Avoid redundant phrases, rectangular in shape or blue in color. Instead, just say blue rectangle. Or she wears a necklace around her neck. That's generally where you wear a necklace, so just say she wears a necklace. Or she wears gloves on her hands. Again, that's generally the place you wear gloves, so just say she wears gloves. Guideline number 3, be descriptive. That sounds like it's pretty obvious, but here are some ideas of words you can use for being descriptive. As Mr. Alonso said, utilize a broad vocabulary of vivid terminology to describe various features of images. So we can talk about shapes. Shapes can be described as square, cubed, circular, spherical, cylindrical, curved, conical, pyramidal, or irregular. Avoid using words that imply action unless the object actually moves. For example, use curved instead of curving, or use slopes instead of sloping. Be descriptive is continuing here with size. Size can be described as small, short, miniature, large, tall, monumental, I like that word, life size, true to life, large scale, and small scale. Texture. Texture can be described as smooth, coarse, worn, weathered, rippled, grooved, and perforated. Now keep in mind, these particular descriptions might not be important to the information of the image. If not, you don't have to use those. But if that is important to the information of the image, then those are some terms to use to describe. Color can be described as intense, vivid, dull, pale, or blended. Do not avoid using color references under the impression that they will be meaningless to people who are blind. There are several reasons for this. Number 1, descriptions are not only used by people with vision impairments. Number 2, many people who are blind now had sight in the past, and so color does mean something to them. They can remember color. And of course, in some situations, color may have significance or some symbolism to the art or the image or the graphs that are being described. Avoid referent or interpretive phrases such as warm gold or angry red. Again, that's being interpretive, and you want to be objective. The arrangements of elements describe things in a logical order, but they can be described as low, high, above, below, parallel, perpendicular, in the foreground or in the background, or to the left or to the right. And that is a good segue into guideline number 4, which is be logical. So describe objects according to a logical sequence. Begin with a general overview of the object, what it is, and what it portrays. Then describe the object in detail in an orderly fashion. So it may be best to go left to right. It may be best to go top to bottom. Another system may be more appropriate, such as clockwise or counterclockwise, but be logical in the way you approach describing the image. Guideline number 5, be accurate. Visual descriptions should be factual and consistent with other sources of information about the image. You may need to consult with a content expert, such as an instructor or the author of the image or graphic, in order to make sure your description is indeed accurate. Avoid jargon or specialized terminology that may not be familiar to your end users. A couple of other points, a few miscellaneous ones. For the benefit of screen readers, use verbal numbers rather than numerals, such as the word 19th in 19th century rather than 19. Also, for 2.5, use the word 2 and a half rather than 2 followed by the number 1/2. Another point, do not assign gender or use gender when referring to animals in the description. That is interpretive. For example, instead of the dog stands on his hind legs, say the dog stands on its hind legs. I hope this has been helpful to you. And again, I pulled this information from A Picture is Worth 300 Words by Mr. Adam Alonso. You can find the full description of his presentation on the web. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. Thank you and have a great day.